In an ancient kingdom, surrounded by mountains, mists, and legends, there lived an old sage named Orin. He lived in a small house on top of a hill, where there was neither gold, nor servants, nor fame. Yet it was to him that the richest, most powerful, and most desperate people came to seek the answer to a single question. One day, a man knocked on his door, dressed in fine clothes, with an arrogant look and a weary heart. "Great Orin," he began. "I am surrounded by those who smile at me to my face, but I feel their words cut me like a blade behind my back. How can I know which of them envies me?" The sage silently invited him inside and poured a cup of bitter tea. And he said, "Listen to this parable. It is long, but within it are 3 answers, and if you are attentive, you will hear each one of them. In a distant village lived a young sculptor named Eno. He was as poor as a church mouse, but in his hands an ordinary stone would turn into a breath of beauty. He created figures that seemed to look at you with tenderness, sadness, and life. His works were noticed. Word about him spread far beyond the village. People began coming to him for figurines, but out of modesty, he never raised his prices. He continued to thank everyone and gave them a smile. But in the same village lived another master artist, wealthy, loud, and surrounded by many apprentices. His works were precise and powerful, but they lacked soul. And most importantly, his fame was fading. Meanwhile, Eno's name was being spoken more and more often by people. Ardas could not accept this. He invited guests, treated them to wine, and casually asked, "So, have you seen that new sculptor? Of course it's beautiful, but far too simple. And did you notice how he only chooses soft stone? Anyone could carve something like that from it. True mastery is in marble, not in limestone." Thus, the first sign of envy revealed itself. He downplays another's achievements, hiding poison within seemingly harmless phrases. He doesn't attack head-on. He appears to be evaluating things objectively. But the goal is always the same: to diminish someone else's worth in order to elevate his own. Time passed. Eno began teaching the village children, giving them the basics of art without asking for anything in return. Soon the students began creating their first works, and the village blossomed with the colors of sculpture. People became kinder, more peaceful. Beauty and creativity spilled out onto the streets. And then one day, someone slipped a letter to the village elders. It said that Eno was using forbidden magic to enchant people, and that his statues evoked emotions not because of talent, but because of dark spells. The letter was anonymous, but one of the elders recognized the handwriting. It was Ardas. He summoned him and said, "Why did you do this?" Ardas looked away and whispered, "Because I couldn't bear to watch how much they loved him anymore." This was the second sign of the envious persona, acts from the shadows. He does not openly admit to his poison. He does not fight honestly. He weaves intrigues, whispers, and sows doubt. He prefers to strike in secret, because he cannot handle the truth. But fate put everything in its place. Word of the forged letter soon became known. Ardas, out of guilt, confessed to what he had done. He was banished, his workshop was abandoned, his apprentices scattered, and his name was forgotten. Many years passed. Eno grew old. His hands began to tremble, and he could no longer hold a chisel. But his eyes still shone whenever he looked at the sunset. His apprentices built him a house by the river. He became a symbol of peace and creation in the village. And then one day, a young man came to see him. He sat at his feet and asked, "Master, I feel that people envy me, and it hurts. How can I protect myself?" Eno smiled and said, "Those who envy will always be around. Envy is not personal. It is a mirror in which a person sees not you, but their own inadequacy. But you can recognize such a person if you are attentive." He paused, breathed in the scent of the evening air, and said, "There is a third sign of an envious person: they cannot rejoice in your happiness. It pains them when you laugh, and they feel despondent when you are praised. They will never say, 'Well done.' Instead, they will say, 'You got lucky,' or 'It was a fortunate set of circumstances.' Because deep down, they do not see your journey. They see only their own standstill." Sage Orin, having finished his tea, looked at his guest. "3 signs," he said. "Belittlement, shadow, and cold joy." "And what if the envious person is someone close?" the guest asked anxiously. "Then you receive the greatest gift." "What is it?" "Understanding. Understanding that not everyone who is near you is walking the same path. Some are simply watching to make sure you don't rise too high. They are not your enemies. They just haven't conquered their own demons yet. And your task is not to fight them, but to make sure they don't take root in your heart." That night, the guest left. He didn't ask any more questions. He simply walked, and along the way he noticed, those who smile sincerely seem to shine, but those who hide envy appear shadowed within. And from that day on, he began to notice what had previously been hidden behind masks, glances, phrases, distant congratulations, and subtle jabs. But most of all, he realized something else: the envy no longer hurt him. It became a signpost for him. Like a lantern in the dark, it showed who was following their own path, and who was merely watching from behind. Envy is a disease that devours the envious person from within. And your task is not to cure them, but to make sure they don't infect you. Remember, those who do not rejoice for you are not on your side, but against you. If this parable helped you understand something important, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you again soon.